Hello, and welcome to Yoga with Annie. Before we begin our practice today, I just want to take you through a few basic principles of yoga. So yoga is all about creating a comfortable seat, head space, and allowing yourself to breathe properly. It's all about the breath. So connecting with your breath is the most important thing that you need to do at any start of any yoga practice. There's different types of breath that you can do in yoga, but a couple of ones that really work for me. It's just really straightforward, in through the nose and then out through the nose. If you've got blocked nose or sinus issues, you can always try and breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth. In some practices like Pilates, that's standard breathing anyway, so as long as those breaths are slow and deep, that's fine. The other thing that you can try is something called Ujjayi. So Ujjayi, for me, sounds a little bit like a cross between an ocean wave and Darth Vader. So you're trying to make a really sort of strong sound by creating a restriction at the back of your throat. So you breathe in through your nose, and then as you breathe out, you're trying to release it with a slight restriction at the back. And so once you've got that sound, you then do that with your mouth closed. So deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. If you feel a bit silly doing that or it's a distraction, just make sure that you breathe in a way that you feel comfortable with. So really deep, slow breaths in and out. At the beginning, I quite like to count my breaths, so I try not to change the pace of it to begin with. I just notice the sensation of breath coming in through my nose and what it feels like when it goes through the tips of your nostrils. Once I've kind of identified that pace, I'm then just monitoring it. So I'm just listening to it coming in and out, maybe noticing that my chest expands or not. We're trying to then take deeper breaths. So in the second stage of breathing, once you've noticed how you are naturally, you're then trying to get your breath to expand your chest, to open up your chest, to release blockages there. Normally our body, it's an amazing thing, it breathes without us thinking about it, but what we try and do in yoga is we try and tap into that breath and not control it, but just enrich it. So then I start to count. So I might then start counting, so I breathe in for 1, 2, 3, and then out for 1, 2, 3. So I'm trying to get my inhale and my exhale to be the same amount of time. And then you can build that up, so you can start with 1, 2, 3, and then you might go 1, 2, 3, 4, but only go for as long as you feel comfortable. Never force it and never feel like you're sort of creating stress by focusing too much on counting or trying to extend that breath out. It's quite common as well for the shoulders to start to hunch if you're overly concentrated, so keeping those shoulders rolled back and down the whole time is really, really important. So once you've got your kind of 1, 2, 3 in, 1, 2, 3 out, I then hold my breath when I reach the top of it. So I breathe in, so 1, 2, 3, and then I hold it for 1, 2, 3. And then it's releasing 1, 2, 3. And all three parts of that process should be the same. So it's really important that you keep an eye on your breath throughout the practice. If at any point you're in a position and you feel that your breath is restricted or you're having to work really hard to breathe, absolutely come out of it. Take yourself down to the floor, drop into child position, whichever is the most comfortable for you. So arms back or arms forwards, lying down on the floor. I quite like a wide knee child, so you can sort of split your knees open when you're on the floor, and that allows your belly to kind of rest in between your thighs as well, which is more room for your breathing. And at that point you'll start to notice it's easier for your breath to fill your so
whole
before we lungs, begin any physical practice today, off. There's a few things that you've got to remember. That's breathing. Your body is precious and your body is intelligent, and it's really important to listen to what your body is telling you to do while you practice, before, during and after you practice. If you feel anything at any point that is uncomfortable or straining, stop immediately. Take yourself down to the floor and just breathe. The most important thing in yoga is just breathing. So resting and breathing for 20 minutes will still do you a whole lot of good. If you have any injuries or anything that you're aware of, please check with your doctor before doing yoga and ensure that you know your limits. Yoga is not about achieving a perfect posture or balancing for hours at a time. It's about breath, and it's about relaxation, and it's about getting to know your body. There'll be days where you feel fantastic and everything just seems to flow. There'll be days when nothing's working for you, your balance is all over the place. Be kind to yourself. Those are the days when maybe you spend more time on the floor. Oh no, what a shame. So just understand that your body is talking to you. We've just got to listen to our bodies and understand it. You might also have little voices in your head comparing yourself to some hypothetical yogi that you think you want to be one day. That doesn't matter. It's not important. You are your own being, your own yogi. The most important thing is that you do what's right for your body and you're not trying to compete with yourself or anybody else. Being competitive is the opposite of what yoga is really about, which is acceptance, tolerance, and self-love. Yes, it will strengthen your body, but it's also going to release tension. And sometimes when that happens, we can feel incredibly overwhelmed, emotional. It's quite common to cry, and quite common to just feel like a sudden sort of rush that you don't really know where it's coming from. That's because we store tension all over our bodies without even realizing it, particularly in our hips, our shoulder areas, our neck. And as we start to release our body's tension in different ways, in different sessions, you will feel unexpected sensations. So just be at peace with that. The most important thing is to breathe through it. And don't be embarrassed or worried about anything that your body does. Allow it to do what feels right and natural to you, and never push beyond your limits. Okay, so now get yourself ready. Spread your yoga mat out somewhere flat, somewhere where you won't be disturbed, outside if the weather's good, and just get yourself into the right headspace. So make sure phones, any devices are turned off, out the way, that nothing is going to disturb you while you take this time out and reward yourself. Okay, so we're just going to start now by sitting cross-legged onto our mat, getting ourselves into that nice comfortable position to begin. You can start on your knees if you choose to, or cross-legged, whatever works for you. And with your hands, you can either rest those in your lap, or you can place your palms face up or face down, just resting on your knee there. Make sure you're in a comfortable position, so maybe just wiggle your bum into the mat and make sure that you feel completely comfortable and completely relaxed. If the position's not comfortable, change it. Okay, let's begin. Okay, so we're going to take some time now to do some really deep breathing. So remember our breathing principles. Close your eyes, focus, and take some deep breaths in through your nose and then out, either through your mouth or through your nose. And in and out. And in and out. And don't worry if your breath is at a slightly different pace to mine. As long as those breaths are deep and long and you're filling your lungs with air and then emptying them completely, that's the most important thing. So deep breaths in and out in your own time. And remember, it's the quality of the breath, not the number of breaths, that matters here. So again, if you want to take that breathing to a slightly deeper level, you can be breathing in through your nose and then holding it, and then out through your nose or through your mouth. So maybe try some of those breaths as well. I'm going to give you the chance now just to do that breathing on your own. And I will let you know when we're going to breathe that. We're going to bring that breathing to a conclusion. Okay, and just start to notice the quality of the breath now. So how deeply are you breathing? Make sure your shoulders are relaxed down. Make sure you feel completely at one with your breath. You might notice other sounds in the background, but ignore them. Just focus on your breath. We're flooding our bodies with oxygen. Enjoy this experience. Take your time. Breathe deep. It's the most important thing that we can do in yoga. Okay. And then just start to notice the sounds around you in the room. Gently blink your eyes open and bring your palms together in prayer position. So now take yourself over onto your hands and knees, and we're going to stretch out. Begin to mobilise that spine in cat-cow. So make sure that your wrists are below your elbows, which are directly below your shoulders, that your thighs are vertical, and that you've got a 90-degree angle between your calf and your thigh. And all we're going to do is we're going to begin to curl our spine. So we curl it first of all, so our stomach comes down towards the floor and our chest goes up with our chin towards the sky, and then we just take that back the other direction. So again, starting from your base, so you can start to tuck those hips under, suck that belly in and sort of curl up towards the sky, and your head follows down, and you just keep doing that, so back and forward and back and forward, but one movement per breath. So in for the curling and then out for the uncurling. So just take your time with that and enjoy feeling that spine mobilizing and stretching out. So the next movement's downward dog. So you need to tuck your toes under and start to lift your knees up. So you can hover your knees quite low to the floor, maybe an inch or so above. That'll feel quite strong on your core. Make sure your core is tucked in, so stomach pinned in against those ribs. Or you can start to push back, and then keeping those knees bent, start to pedal those legs. So just stretching out those hamstrings. Depending on your flexibility, this might be quite intense already. So just take your time. And then what we're trying to do is straighten those legs and lower our heels towards the floor. So just keep an eye on your shoulders. Make sure that your shoulders aren't hunching. And what we're trying to aim for is this upside down V. So if at any point it's too much, you just drop your knees down, and then we pull back into child. So you pull your hips back towards your ankles, your arms can go down by your sides, your head is resting on the floor, and don't worry if your bum doesn't touch your heels. If it's moving in that direction, that is all good. And this is child's position, so if anything gets too much at any point, you come back here. And then we're pushing back up into that downward dog, and this time we're going to hold it for a little bit longer. So you're just going to stay here and take some deep breaths. But at any point you can come back down to that child position. So you choose now whether you stay up in your downward dog and hold that position. Maybe stay up for a few breaths, and then you can always come back down to child. So take your time with this, enjoy. And as you develop your practice, you may be able to stay up for a bit longer at a time. But don't worry if you're resting a lot in between. As long as you're breathing deeply, then that's what it's all about. So focus back in on that breath wherever you are now. And then another way to extend that child is to reach your hands back above you, clasp those hands together, and then you can start to gently pull those shoulders forwards. This is really good for opening up your shoulder blades. And then come back up to that cat-cow. 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 Okay, and now let's get ready for some sun salutations. So stand at the front of your mat, and feet together, palms by the side. Roll your shoulders back. Give yourself a little bit of a shake out, just make sure you've got no tension. You can bend your knees slightly while you're doing this. Okay, and roll your shoulders back, get ready. So arms by side, nice and straight, tall spine. Namaste hands. And we take those hands stretching up and then forward fold. And then you're going to look up, bend your knees, take one leg back, the other leg back, and just lower into a hover. You can drop your knees at any point or stay in that plank. And then either with your knees bent or straight, lower down and then push up. When you push up, you can push up a little bit like that. You can push further up into an upward dog, and then through your bent knees, you're then going to come back up into a downward dog, and we're going to hold that downward dog. So remember, you can bend your knees, you can pedal your legs, just focus on your breathing. It's the most important thing. Then bend your knees, one foot forward, then the other, straighten your spine, drop your head back down, and raise back up to that lovely straight tall shape with Namaste hands. Lovely, and we go again. So hands in the air, diving down, head up, straighten your spine, tap back down. One leg back, the other leg back. Either stay in that plank or drop your knees, down and up. Enjoy that back bend. And then going back, either with bent legs or not, to a downward dog. And stay there. And focus on your breathing. So nice deep breaths in and out. And ready, bend your knees, one step forward, the other. Raise your head, drop back down, and then bring yourself back up to standing. Nice straight spine. Namaste hands. Well done. Here we go again. Diving forward, head up, touch back down. One leg back, the other back. Hold that plank, drop down, pull up, and then back into that downward dog. And remember, just take it at your own pace. There is no hurry. Focus on your breathing. Come to the front of your mat and stretch up. Namaste hands. Okay, so now we're going to do some forward bending. So Namaste hands again, and then just take yourself forward like you did before. Now your hands might reach the floor, your calves or your thighs, and just hang out there. So make sure that you haven't got any pain in your lower back. And if you want to stretch it a little more, you can take those elbows and just swing from side to side very gently. You can bend your knees, it's absolutely fine to do so, or keep those legs nice and straight. And then just hang out and then come up to the top. Namaste. Okay, and then turn and take your legs wider apart this time. Roll your shoulders back, relax, big deep breaths, and then take your hands to your hips. And keeping that chin nice and high and your spine nice and straight, forward fold from the hips. So there should be no pain in the lower back. Your legs ideally are straight, you can keep them slightly bent if you want to. And just letting that neck relax down. If you want to take your hands to the floor, you can, or you can have them anywhere on your leg, including your ankle. If you're happy on the floor and feel you can stretch out a little bit more, then you can spread those legs a little bit wider. Relax those hands down, bend your elbows and start to move your head in the direction of the floor. There are no prizes for getting to the floor. You should be feeling a nice stretch on the inner thigh, the back of your hamstrings, and feel those hips opening up. To come out, hands on hips, deep breath, come up to the top, and relax. Well done. So this time we're going to take our hands down our legs and keep those arms nice and wide, shoulders nice and loose. Again, if you want to bend those elbows, you can. If you want to take your big toes, you can. And just letting that spine feel nice and straight and loose. Those hamstrings are stretching out. And come back up, hands back up to your waist, deep breath, and out. This time, clasp your hands behind your back, and you're going to do the same movement again. And the instinct of the body isn't to go as far, so don't worry if you don't get that far. And then we're bringing those arms with clasped hands round over the top. If you want to protect your wrists, you can keep those hands nice and clasped tightly, or you can open them up. And then to come back up, deep breath. And just slowly, carefully step to the front of your mat. Namaste. Okay, and now it's time for balance. So we're going to do tree position. So get all the weight into that left leg, and then your right leg should feel nice and light on the floor. Now we're trying to turn our leg out, and then you can take that foot to just on your ankle, your calf, or your inner thigh, not on your knee. Then we're trying to keep that spine straight and long. Don't worry if you wobble. Trees are natural, they move around. And then once you've found a place to look at on the floor, take those palms into Namaste hands. And just focus on your breath. Don't worry if you fall. Don't worry if you wobble. The strength and stability in that standing leg will surprise you, and it builds really quickly over time. So the more you can hang out on one leg, the better. And then if you're stable, you can take those arms up and make them into beautiful branches, swaying in the breeze, and maybe even raise your gaze. And then to come down, we go back to Namaste hands, release that aside. So lift that leg up until you've got a nice secure position. Get those Namaste hands, focus on the floor. Again, don't worry about wobbling. Swaying with the breeze is absolutely fine, and try and focus on your breath. So deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And in and out. And just enjoy that feeling of strength. And you can take your branches up and come back down to the floor. Well done. And now we're going to move into some final stretches. So if you take yourself down onto the floor, and what you're going to do is take your right ankle onto the top of your left thigh, put your right arm through your gap, left arm around the side, and you're just going to gently pull that thigh in towards you. This is a fantastic release for hips, for your glutes, for all of those muscles, including your iliopsoas, so connective muscles between your upper and lower body. This should feel fantastic. Don't pull too hard, and then you're just going to swap over. So that's your left ankle on top of your right thigh, left arm through the hole, and holding around the back and gently pulling in towards you. You can hold these stretches as long as you choose to. It's a minimum of 5 deep breaths. So really enjoy that time. And if you want to spend longer here, you can. Just make sure you do it evenly on both sides. And once you've done that, bring yourself up to seated. Find a comfortable cross-legged position. So that might be half lotus or lotus position. And just stretch your hands out in front of you and just bend forward and just release down. Completely relax in that position. Enjoy the feeling of release, the space, the time, and bring it back to your breath. Focus on your deep breathing. You shouldn't feel any pain in your lower back. It's not about coming as far forward as you can, it's about relaxing. And then just bring yourself up. Namaste hands. The light in me bows to the light in you. Well done. And rub those palms together. Create some prana, some energy, and just pop those palms over your eyes. Gently open your eyes into those palms. And just take a moment to come back to your day. Big stretch. Well done.